But why even bother making a custom interior map? Why not just use an interior that already exists in the Foundry? And to answer that, I'm going to go through a few of the different interiors that are included in the Foundry. The first one here is Federation Interior 02, and you can see it's 3 rooms connected by a couple of corridors, one really long corridor, and the thing about that corridor is it has no doors or anything, not even any fake doors along the length of it. It just seems really ridiculous. Why is there this long corridor like that? It makes absolutely no sense. And this is a major problem with a lot of the cryptic maps, especially a lot of the ones that came out when the game was first created. And in more recent years they've managed to create more detailed, more realistic interiors, but a lot of cryptic maps frankly are just ridiculous. And this is definitely one of them. Now the blank rooms here, they're actually pretty small, and if you're going to have anything, I mean, you could put a sick bay in one of them, you could put like a bar on another, but you're going to have long corridors connecting each of them. The layout between them just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and a lot of times this stock layout here just isn't going to cut it. So that's Federation Interior number 2. Now let's look at some of the other interiors here. We got Federation Interior 04. This is another one with just rooms, except the one thing about this one is it actually has props in it already, like consoles, and that makes it even less useful as a custom interior, because you already have all the consoles placed, all this cargo's placed, and I mean, I don't know, frankly they shouldn't even put the props in here. This lower left room, it's just got a bunch of consoles in it. I mean, it just looks ridiculous. It doesn't look like a real place. There's no door in or out. It doesn't look like a starship deck. It doesn't look like a base deck. It just rooms with consoles in them. I mean, this is just one of the most worthless interior levels, I'd say, in the whole Foundry. I mean, I'm sure somebody out there has used it, so, you know, no offense if you know, you found some good use for it, but I just don't see it. And so let's look at another interior. I'm going to go with one that was actually used in a mission, the Rapier interior. Now this one actually has a mess hall, and so if you wanted a mess hall or bar or something, you could use this one. But the thing about this one here is, okay, here's the mess hall. I'm going to click load in this map, and so we can look at it more closely. So here we are inside the Rapier interior, and if you recall, this was used on a mission where the USS Rapier had been lost inside the wormhole of Deep Space Nine, and you had to go in and find them, or maybe your ship also got lost inside. I can't remember the exact details. It wasn't really all that spectacular or anything like that. But anyway, you beamed over to the Rapier, which had been boarded by, I guess, some other ships had been caught inside the wormhole or something like that, and they'd boarded it, and you had to fight your way through and rescue the captain and so on. Pretty basic stuff for the game, honestly. Anyway, the one thing that strikes me when I'm running through this level is the USS Rapier was a Rapier class vessel, obviously the namesake for the line, and those ships are escorts that are barely bigger than the Defiant. I mean, I'm not even sure they are bigger. It might just be that their nacelles stick out more. So keep that in mind when you're looking at how huge this, like absolutely huge this room is, this mess hall, and the whole layout of the rest of the deck. It just seems kind of ridiculous to be in such a small ship like that. But that notwithstanding, I guess when you're using this, you don't have to have it in a Rapier class, so, you know, no big deal. So let's just take a look at this level, and you got, you know, mess hall, bar, and here's a view outside. I think that's supposed to be inside the wormhole, but sure, it could be stars or whatever, just some sort of nebula or smoke in the way. It doesn't matter. But one little thing that's kind of interesting here is when you go over to this corridor here, and once again, it's one of these you know, trademarked long corridors that Cryptic has. It's just a long corridor, and if you look at the map, this is the exterior of the ship right below that, apparently, based on the windows over there. So we have a huge corridor just running along the edge of the ship, which, I don't know, seems a little ridiculous to me, but, you know, so we're running through here, and there's a long corridor, no doorways or anything, and then here's a cargo bay, and you know, I don't know what's in the spaces there between the cargo bay and the air corridor. I guess there's just nothing there. Or there's, you know, whatever is there, you can't access it. and here's a couple fake door junctions. But, you know, I'm not convinced, frankly, that this is how a Starship deck would be laid out. I think it's not very realistic. But going beyond that, you know, I'll be honest, I've actually used this in a mission. I used it in Atlas Fair Part 1, and I think in a Galaxy-class ship, this deck makes a little bit more sense. So, you know, I would actually say this deck has some potential use. But the major thing to consider about this is, let's say you wanted not just a mess hall. Let's say you want to have a sick bay and a mess hall in the same deck, or you want to have some crew quarters in the mess hall in the same deck, or, you know, what have you, a shuttle bay, anything. Whatever you wanted. Now, how would you possibly do that? There's no usable space. There's a cargo bay filled with cargo. I mean, if this had nothing in it, maybe you could use it, but it does. It's filled with cargo. There's a corridor here. You can't really use the corridor for anything. It's too narrow, and, you know, I guess maybe if you're really creative, you could do it, but frankly, if you're going to go to that length, you might as well make a custom interior. So this is a major reason for making custom interiors. This works great if you want exactly what this map has, and if it isn't what you want, if you want something more, if you want something, you want different rooms on the same map, you have to make it yourself. And that is basically the main reason. I mean, there's a lot more work to make a custom interior. The visual style of them, they can be a little bit, I don't know, not so good looking sometimes. The lighting can be kind of weird, so, you know, there are definite trade-offs, but the major thing is you can make it a layout like an actual Starship deck, and you can have what you want. And that is something you just can't do with these basic maps.